Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, you can see it and you can purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. And today we are discussing one of the best Rolex Datejust combinations of the 2000s. This is the Oyster Perpetual Datejust 116334 in 904L highly anti-corrosive Rolex stainless steel and a small amount of Rolex gray gold gracing the fluted precious metal bezel. The timepiece on my wrist, 16 centimeters in circumference, wears like a classic 36 millimeter Datejust. Now the Datejust was born in 1945. That was 40 years and the Jubilee for Rolex. So 40 years into Rolex's run as a manufacturer, they launched the Datejust and the Jubilee bracelet with it. So the timepiece classically equipped with the Jubilee here is so specified. The watch is slim. In profile, it's only 11.6 millimeters thick, and lug-to-lug, not counting the solid end links of the Super Jubilee, it's a 44.3 millimeter watch. If you include the solid end links of the Super Jubilee, and we'll talk about what that means in a moment, it's a little bit more robust at 45.5 with the spacing between the lugs 20 millimeters. So if you want to throw this one on a strap and experiment a little bit, the spacing between the lugs is quite standardized. 20 is a very popular size for straps. But the Super Jubilee, released in 2005, is probably going to be your first option. So called because the intermediate links are now solid. The Super is a little bit more substantial and better suited to sports use than the original hollow center link Jubilee. It retains the beauty of that original bracelet with the staggered link size, staggered link alignment, and asymmetrical finish, both polish and satin. You can see outboard they're all of high polish, and underneath it's a well-vented bracelet, actually venting the wrist better than the more sporting Oyster style. You can see that the individual removable links are fixed by screws, and the Super Jubilee features a lift lock system. You'll note that all is polished inside. It's a fully finished clasp internal, and there's a little bit of a beacon hook. Here's the beak, here's the hook. You close it, and the crown, it does have a crown clasp, needs to be unlocked before you can lift. You can't just manually pull this thing open with brute force. It's not friction fit. It is a locking system, and very clever at that. You can see the only point noting the partition is the crown itself, hence it's known as the crown clasp, as that's your only key to the division between the two sides of the bracelet. Jumping back to the case, Rolex does a good job of keeping the aspect ratio of the case constant through different sizes of the traditional Oyster, which is why it still looks graceful, slim, beautifully tapered, compound curved, lithe and sexy, doing incredible flame surfacing things with light through the box that I'm holding this individual watch. You'll note the things that happen are dazzling. It's only going to happen on a traditional Rolex Oyster case, as the squared off and sheer sides of the Submariners, the Sea Dwellers, the GMTs today, they no longer do this. They don't dance the way the older watches do. Twin lock crown, 100-meter water resistance, and you can see that the faceting of the bezel is sharp and still crisply defined. This is not one of those watches that has been excessively or poorly refinished in its history. It remains almost gem-like, like a cut gem. And you can see there was a little bit of a difference in color between the gray gold and the steel. It's rare you get to see the two juxtaposed. You can see white gold is not exactly the same color as steel. Now, why do I call it gray gold? Because it's an 18-karat white gold alloy. Rolex makes it itself in its own foundry. It never needs to be rhodium plated, so if it gets scratched, there's more white material underneath. It's white straight through. This dial is sometimes described as the silver tuxedo or the sports tuxedo, and you can see that's because it is basically what you'd normally call the tuxedo dial, albeit with a grayscale color scheme. You have a sunburst gray at center and then a sunburst silver outboard on the hour track. You can see that grained hour track graced with white gold applique hour indices and a white gold applique 5-point Rolex coronet. This, along with white gold hands, calculated to resist oxidation and tarnish over time. The Cyclops eye, illuminating a roulette date. The odds are red, the evens are black. So you have a combination of rare and desirable features here between the silver tuxedo dial and the roulette date. Of course, the Cyclops eye, a little bit controversial in its design, but an icon of the Datejust, having been part of the line since 1954, and it does objectively make the watch a lot easier to read. Outboard, there's a railroad track, and you can see a stylized Roman numeral that's outboard of each of the hour indices. Now, underneath the case back, the Oyster style screwed-in case back, Rolex manufactured, caliber 3135, 31 jewels, automatic winding. It's smooth by virtue of bidirectional winding with a jeweled staff pivot. The 48-hour power reserve metered out at 28,800 vibrations per hour or 8 beats per second. There's a quick set date and stop seconds. It is very tough movement with a free sprung balance and a full balance bridge for shock resistance, as well as an overcoil hairspring to help it keep time excellently in any position, and that isochronism and precision relative to gravity in any orientation, helping the watch to earn its COSC chronometer certification. It is adjusted in 5 positions. The timepiece also featuring a remarkably classic profile that one could argue is immune to time and utterly defies planned obsolescence, is one of the all-timers. The GMT, the Daytona, and the Sub might be the stars of the moment, but historically, if you were to name Rolex's most important watch economically in terms of widespread distribution, widespread love, and adaptation across markets, it's easily the Datejust. This watch is Rolex. See and make the Jubilee special yours on the Watchbox. The steel white gold Jubilee by night.